What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Richie Faulkner of Judas Priest and Elegant Weapons. It is great to have you here, man. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Alex, it's a pleasure. Thanks very much for having me, brother.
Yeah, anytime, man. It's so awesome to have you here. This new album, Horns for a Halo, is absolutely kick-ass. From when you open with Dead Man Walking to when you end with Downfall Rising, it really is just an epic listen. Was there sort of like a vision that you had in mind for the making of this album in a way, or was it like a very like improvisational and very like experimental process?
I didn't know really what I had going in, and it's kind of similar. When you make an album, you've got an idea at the best of times of what you've got, but the album time tends to dictate what the album wants to do, if that makes any sense. But with this one, I didn't have any idea of what I wanted to do. I just wanted to get in with a group of ideas and starts for some songs that I had, and kind of it was a let's see what I've got attitude. Have I got an EP? Have I got an album? Let's to have is something that stood on its own 2 feet sonically. I didn't want it to be something that sounded like Priest. I wanted it to be something that sonically had its own character. And apart from that, it kind of came from the heart, really. And it went, as I said, it kind of took on its own journey from there.
Yeah. Well, when I listen to like a song like Lights Out, for example, or Bitter Pill or Ghost of You, it seems like every song has like its own vibe in a way, maybe like its own little feeling. Is every song more or less like, are you using your guitar to almost kind of like express a different emotion or express a different experience from your side in a way, or does every song almost like represent something different, maybe something more personal versus something more external?
Well, the guitar is quite a personal thing for me anyway, so it's like a conduit, really. The guitar, I'm always playing the guitar, I'm always writing, I'm always riffing away. So the guitar in a way is a conduit for when I'm writing the songs and when I'm playing the songs. It is very expressive. It is a kind of personal thing, and it's just the tool really that enables me to express myself in that way. I've got an idea for a song or a feeling that I want to contain in the song, if that makes sense, and the guitar just allows me to do that. So it is quite an emotional thing in one sense, but that's just because I've got such a close relationship with the guitar that it's almost not to be cliche about it. It becomes one. You become one with the guitar, and the guitar enables you to express yourself like that, for sure.
Yeah. Well, hey, just because it's a cliche doesn't mean it isn't true. That's one of my favorite quotes ever. So,
That's right.
Yep. But it's funny you mentioned that too, because like sometimes the inspiration strikes at inconvenient times, and like sometimes you're working on a song for days or weeks or months. So when you're working on something for a long period of time, does it make it a little bit more difficult to sort of maintain that spark of inspiration?
It does, but I mean, there's always a motivation to finish those songs. The songs that you mentioned that take a little bit longer to complete. It's always nagging in the back of your mind that you want to complete it, and then what usually happens is you put it to the side, and then you might be working on something else, or you might be out walking the dog, or whatever it might be, and you get those flashes of inspiration, you get those riffs and melodies, and you think, that might go perfectly in that song that I've put to the side, and eventually you finish them. And then on the other hand, you've got those ones that just they come out of nowhere and they're finished within 10 minutes. You've got the riffs and the melodies, and they come to you straight away. But that's just the beauty and the challenges of writing songs and writing albums. And there's always challenges, and that's just one of the challenges of songwriting.
This is sort of like a silly question I've been asking a lot of guitar players lately, because when I like ask them, how they start a song, 9 times out of 10 it says it starts off with a riff or something like that. Do you think in the future we will run out of riffs one day?
That's a good question. I often wonder. I mean, you've got stuff like Smoke on the Water and Iron Man and stuff like that, and how many riffs can there be really? But at the moment, fortunately, there seem to be an inexhaustible supply. I don't know how that happens, but hopefully they keep they keep coming. We keep getting ideas, and we keep putting down riffs. Hopefully, there's still some riffs in the pot, so to speak.
Yeah, I've always wondered that because, like, you're right. Like, we hear familiar riffs. You know, every pop hit has the same four chords, as we jokingly say. But there's
Yeah.
still so much you could do with the same four chords. I'm just always wondering if we will ever run out of like different patterns in a way.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, there's always something that inspires us to create different things. And I always wonder when I come to the end of a songwriting process. So, we've just finished writing, well, not long ago, we finished writing the record for the next Elegant Weapons album, or, the Priest record. We finished the Priest record. I always wonder, I've got no riffs left. And where are the other, if we do another album in the future, where are those riffs going to come from? Because I haven't got any. I've exhausted all of them, but they come from somewhere. Thank goodness. Or maybe one day they won't. But at the moment, they seem to be coming thick and fast. So hopefully we keep capturing them.
When it came to the formation of Elegant Weapons, in a way, was it almost kind of like maybe combining elements of Judas Priest, with Christopher Williams' history with Accept, with Ronnie Romero's history and Dave's history? Was it all maybe like trying to combine your projects into one, or were you all trying to step into territory that you never explored before?
But it was just a case of, I wanted the people that were best for the job, and it just so happened that, they were in other bands, they are in other bands. Usually the best players are in other bands, you know what I mean? But it wasn't a case of, I wanted them because they were in those bands. It's just they were going to be the best guys. I thought, Davey, for example, he was going to be the best bass player I knew to take forward into the band. Rex was on the record, Rex Brown, and at the time that was the best player I could think of in those circumstances to get on the record. So I was looking for the best possible players, and I'm just fortunate that I've got some really good friends that are fantastic players like that in fantastic bands. It's just the way it turned out, really.
And being such a prolific artist between Elegant Weapons and Judas Priest and even Deeds, one of your earlier bands, like, is the creative process like a very different process depending on what project you're with, or is there like a usual method behind the madness that almost just applies to everything that you play in?
For me, there's a common thread. I mean, as I said before, it all comes from the guitar, and the guitar is a conduit, really, for the creative juices to flow, and it pulls the influences out of me. But then it depends, obviously, on the people that you're bouncing those ideas off of. With Elegant Weapons, initially, it was me that was spearheading the creative movement. So so that was mainly me. In Priest, it's me, Glenn, and Rob. In other bands I've been in, it just depends on the creative group that you're working with. But the common thread for me is the guitar, and that's what inspires me. That's what enables me to come up with stuff and record things and express myself creatively. But as I said, then it's the group of people that you're working with that varies, and their ways of working as well. So that's what changes, but there's that common thread of the guitar that runs through it for me.
Well, when it comes to like writing and when there is that common thread with you and the guitar, do you find it easier to come up with ideas when you're alone in isolation and there's nothing between you and your instrument, or is it sometimes better to be in the company of your bandmates when coming up with new ideas?
A bit of both, really. A bit of both. I usually come up with a lot of stuff on my own riff-wise, but then I find it better to take those riffs to someone else and bounce those riffs off them, because I usually hit a wall. I'll write one or two riffs, or I might have a melody, but then it's always better to go to someone else, and they've got ideas to add to your things that you wouldn't necessarily come up with. So I think it makes it a bigger thing, that someone else's ideas mixed with yours. You come up with something else that neither of you would have come up with on your own. So it makes the whole greater, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And like when you're like collaborating, because when people tell me all the time like oh, you know, when we made this record we all collectively came together and it was all mutual, I don't really believe it, because if you're in a band with 4 to 5 other people and you all have your different experiences and your different emotions, you know, there's going to be some disagreement or there. But is it better if everybody is in kind of like their own worlds when writing material together, because that adds diversity?
It works different ways for different people. You know, you get some people that aren't prolific writers, and that's okay. You know, you sometimes get problems when people that don't, they're not writers, they try and write, and it can impede the process. You know, sometimes you're better off letting the people that write and the people that don't, leave it to the writers, you know, because it can impede the process sometimes, I've found. But, you know, sometimes it works. People get in a room together and they all come up with stuff together. Or, you know, in Priest, we usually get off a tour and then we all go our separate ways, write stuff separately, and then bring those things together, the three of us, me, Rob and Glenn, and put those ideas, as I said before, and bounce them off of each other, and then come up with stuff that we wouldn't have come up with otherwise. So, but it works differently for different groups of people. But that's the way it's worked with Priest since I've been in the band anyway.
When it comes to the inspiration or the creative energy to pick up the guitar and play and start writing, is inspiration really something that could be sought out? Can you actually go out and look for inspiration, or is it something that just kind of has to strike you?
I think that's a good question. I mean, I'm always, I can only speak for myself, but I'm always playing. I've always got the guitar strapped on 80-90% of the time. So if I'm inspired, I'm fortunate enough to be able to capture that inspiration and play it. But I mean, it can hit you wherever. I mean, I remember vividly being in my kitchen doing dishes, getting an idea for a riff, you know, and then putting that idea down later on, and that ended up on a Priest record, you know. So it's just being able to remember those ideas. If you're not in a situation where you can put those ideas down, remembering them, putting them down as soon as you can, you know, trying to capture that initial feeling you got from the idea. But it can get you anywhere. It can hit you anywhere. For some reason, you know, we might be walking around and we might hear a piece of music which inspires something else or gives us another idea. Or it might just come right out the blue. As I said, washing dishes in your kitchen, you might get an idea. Just put it down when you can, and then put it down properly when you get the guitar strapped to you. But I've always got the guitar, so luckily I'm able to put those ideas down 80 or 90% of the time I get them.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, how hard is it, or how painful is it, rather, if you have like a really good riff or melody idea and you don't have your guitar? I mean, not to make assumptions, but if you're like going deep sea fishing, I doubt you'll have your guitar strapped on to you when you're there or something like that. Or
No, it's true. It's true, and you know, luckily, you know, we've all got phones these days, so we can put those ideas down. We can whistle them into our phones or sing them into our phones or whatever. We can capture them somehow. But you're right. You know, if you go deep sea fishing, maybe you haven't got the means to capture them. You just got to try and remember them. But some of them do get away. You know, those melodies do get away. But hopefully, as we said earlier on, there's more riffs out there to discover.
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of artists tell me that they get inspired in the shower, so I was like pitching this idea where they got to make home studios that could fit and modified in a shower. Get like waterproof compressors, waterproof amps, like all that stuff, so people could just write in the shower and never forget those ideas again.
That's a brilliant idea. Yeah, it's like you get good ideas on the toilet. You know, if you're in a bar and you know, with a group of friends, you're having some beers, you go to the bathroom and you get good. I get good ideas when you go for a piss. You know what I mean? Maybe it's the same. Maybe studios should look like bathrooms and showers. You know what I mean? Maybe we've hit on $1 million idea there. Maybe not.
Yeah. Or I mean, I don't understand why like the mixer like doesn't just have their seat as like a toilet. Forget the swivel chairs that are.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Perfect.
And I wanted, for the final portion of this interview, to just talk a little gear, because you know, when I see the Epiphone Les Paul that you use, like, I mean, that Flying V, I mean, it's, in my opinion, you know, it's just as iconic as what Michael Schenker's V was able to do as well. And I'm just like wondering, what is it about the Epiphone that really just ultimately attracted you to it, and how does it really help the sound that you get with both Elegant Weapons and Judas Priest?
Well, the Epiphone was a signature model of a Gibson custom shop that I've been using since 2011 with Priest, and it was the latest incarnation of that. I mean, we've gone, beyond that now. We've actually just released another custom shop version of it through the Gibson Custom Shop. There's 100 models available, 100 pieces available worldwide, and it's just the tool that enables me to do the job that I need to do. So that's basically what it is. It's always been that way with guitars and amplifiers, and it's always been Gibson since as long as I can remember. Since I was playing in bars, live shows, I can remember I gravitated towards the Gibson and the humbucking pickup. And I didn't know what any of that stuff was. I just knew that it was the weight of the Les Pauls at the time, or the humbucker. I didn't, again, like, I don't know why, but the humbucker did the job. I was playing stuff like Jeff Beck and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple and Santana, and the humbucking pickup was the tool for the job. It's the same with the Gibsons, and the same with the Flying V. It's all the tools that enable me to do the job that I need to do. And so yeah, there's nothing. There's all the fat's been trimmed, if you know what I mean. I just use the stuff that I need to use and nothing else. So it's amps and guitars and pedals, and that's it. Batteries, and the Flying V is a representation of that mindset, really. It's what I need to use and what enables me to do the job.
Are you still using EMG active pickups as well?
Yeah, I've actually got a signature set in the signature guitar, and again, it's an evolution of a pickup that I was using for a few years. We've made some modifications to it to better suit what I needed to use. So yeah, they're active pickups, but they're based on passive voicing. If anyone knows what those characteristics are, but obviously there's active elements to them as well. And just again, what I need to feel like I'm doing the job and play to the best of my ability, whatever that is these days. Just holding on for dear life most of the time. But yeah, it's they're in the signature guitar as well, so they're active EMGs. So yeah, apart from that, I've been using the same gear, with Twig. It's all been evolving from the same gear. It comes from the pubs in London. You've got a few pedals on the floor, Ernie Ball strings and active pickups, and the rest of it is pretty much the same stuff.
Can you name one guitar player, and I challenge anybody watching this, who does not have an MXR Phase 90? Because...
Oh, do you know what? Oh, no, there's one. There's one here, look. there you go.
Yeah, like, I every time I look at a pedal board at a show, regardless of what size band, it's like, I look for it. I'm like, yep, there's that famous orange pedal right there.
Yeah, it's one of those fundamental. You don't use it all the time, but if you need that effect, that's the one to use. It's got one knob on it. It's got one speed knob on it, and that's it. I think there's a lot of imitations, but there's one leader in that field, and that's what Eddie used. So that's what's good enough for everyone else, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today and for such an awesome conversation. Just, with this Horns for a Halo out now, it's an absolutely kick-ass Elegant Weapons album. Is there just anything else you would like to promote for Elegant Weapons, if we could be hearing more new music in the future, and anything else with Judas Priest that you would like to promote as well?
Well, hopefully with Weapons, we'll be looking for opportunities in the States. We've just got back from Europe. We'll be heading back over there at the end of this month, but we're looking for opportunities in the States soon, so watch this space. With Priest, we've just been confirmed for Power Trip in October. Ozzy couldn't do it, so we're doing that. I think we're on the same night as AC/DC, so it'll be AC/DC and Priest. I think Metallica, Tool, Iron Maiden, and Guns N' Roses are playing as well, so it's a mega festival. So yeah, and then Priest are out next year as well. So we're it's busy times, but I'll sleep when I'm dead, so to speak. And so yeah, just watch this space for all things Elegant Weapons and Judas Priest, and I'll see you there.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much, Richie. Everybody, Richie Faulkner of Judas Priest and Elegant Weapons. Be sure to check out Horns for a Halo out now. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, Alex. See you, mate.